Our next agenda item is House File 1275, House File 1271, also Chair Joachim. Would you like to move House File 1271 before the committee with the intention of it being re-referred to the Committee on Taxes?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would like to move 1271 before the committee today with the intention of re-referring this to the Tax Committee.
You may present your bill. You may present your bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and members, for the hearing on 1271 today. This is yet another bill that deals with school districts' local operating levy and equalization. With this bill in 1994, an equalizing factor was put in place for that first tier on all local equity revenue. The first tier equalizing factor has only been raised twice since, from $476,000 to $510,000 in 2013. Then it was increased to $567,000 in 2019. That equates to just under a 20% increase when the statewide average for referendum market value per people unit has grown over 300% for that same time period. Referendum equalization aid as a portion of the referendum peaked at about 35% from 2001 to 2002 school year, and the percentage is estimated to fall to 2% in 2025. So as I said, it equates to a 20% increase over time. We've peaked at 35%, it's gonna fall to 2%, while the market around us has gone up over 300% in that same time period. In other words, we need to adjust the aid to current values, allowing the equalization factor to grow with the market. In House File 1271, you'd raise the equalizing factor to 150% of the statewide average referendum market per pupil value. So we're going halfway there. We're not going to the full 300%. That would set the equalizing factor at just over $1 million. The bill would also allow the factor to grow so that when the school board goes to the voters, it is a number that is closer to what is happening in the market. Otherwise, the levy cost is shifted over to property taxes versus its state aid as property wealth grows. So members, this is a different way to approach the same problem. So in the previous bill, we were looking at bringing the tiers together and linking that equalization factor to the market value. This is still putting in, we're talking about the market value, but it's at 150% of the market value. And with that, Mr. Strom, can you once again briefly take us through the runs?
Mr. Strom?
Madam Chair, members, let's see if I make sure I have the document in front of me here. I'm not seeing that printout in the.
Oh, no. Yeah, House File 1271, I have it, but.
My apologies, Madam Chair. I can send that to the printer real quick. And,
Maybe we missed it in the packets.
oh, okay, very good. Madam Chair, that one will be copied and down to us soon.
Okay, no problem. I was just jumping ahead of myself, probably. So with that, maybe we could go to testifiers, Madam Chair?
Great. Our first testifier is remote, and it would be Dr. Scott Tillman, and he's a superintendent of Buffalo, Andover, and Montrose.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Education Finance Committee members. It's a privilege to be here and testify. I was asked to testify on behalf of Schools for Equity and Education. I'm the superintendent with the Buffalo Hanover Montrose School District, just to the west of the Twin Cities, and share a border with the Osseo, Anoka, Hennepin, St. Michael, Albertville, Monticello school districts, Rockford to the east, and wanted to give you a picture of what 1271, House File 1271, might do for the members of C, which were 55 members currently, ranging in size from the Anoka Hennepin School District to the Medford School District, and really looking at property tax equalization. The file that is presented is one that will benefit our community dramatically. $1.2 million tax relief for our community. And I want to just touch base on this for a moment. I have runs from Schools for Equity and Education, just particular to the Buffalo Hanover Montrose School District, in which in 1995, as you said, it was enacted in 1994. In 1995, the BHM schools could go out to our community and say, if you raise your taxes 25 cents, the state will give us 75 cents in return in aid. And that was a big selling point for communities to be able to provide additional programming that the community saw fit for their students. In comparison, in the Pay 22 school year, the Buffalo Hanover Montrose School District would ask our community, hey, if you support us and give us 92 cents, the state will give us 8 cents. So we've gone from 25% local effort and 75% state aid to 92% local effort with 8% state aid. I encourage members, if you haven't watched the famous or infamous pizza video from Schools for Equity and Education, you can watch how, and it's demonstrated how communities that have a high property value, wealth, commercial industrial properties, or just properties that are higher in value, receive an unfair advantage, an equitable advantage. In Buffalo, it takes 2.5 times the effort for our local taxpayers to, in order to gain the same amount of a district like Hopkins. And I share Hopkins because that is part of our athletic conference, the Lake Conference. Hopkins, Edina, Eden Prairie, Wayzata, Minnetonka, Buffalo, St. Michael, Albertville are all part of the Lake Conference. And I'll give you another example. If all of our, if Buffalo Hanover Montrose School District was able to generate the max amount for an operating referendum, which is $2,779, our taxpayers on a $250,000 home would have to pay $1,054 versus currently a Hopkins home that's valued at $250,000 would pay $388. And so what this bill does is it takes away a static amount of $567,000 and creates a sliding scale of 150% of the operating market value, referendum market value equalization factor. Again, this would help the Buffalo Hanover Montrose School District, but it would help all the school districts in the state of Minnesota, from Anoka Hennepin to Medford, as I gave an example with the Schools for Equity and Education. So we appreciate the introduction of House File 1271 and would encourage the Education Finance Committee to pass along this bill. I will just end with one important factor. This does not give school districts additional money. This does give our community property tax relief. And so it's about tax fairness. Would this help school districts pass an operating referendum? Absolutely, I think it would. But it is about property tax fairness also. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Tillman, for your conversation. Our next testifier is Dan Pryan from South Washington County.
Madam Chair, I think we just had the one testifier for this bill.
Perfect. Okay. With that, members, we have no one signed up for public comments or questions. Are there any questions? Representative Pryor?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it's a good opportunity to try to learn this a little bit better. So appreciate the testifiers and the ability to ask questions. And just, it occurred to me as I was listening to our last testifiers about school districts, this would just, it would not change how much money the school's getting, just how easy it is to pass an operating levy. But this would be in the future, correct? Nothing retroactive that would change? Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, yes, Representative Pryor, this is not retroactive, it's moving into the future. And you bring up the big, important point, and so did Dr. Thielman, is that this isn't more money into our schools, this is more money back to our taxpayers' pockets. And you can kind of see a theme of why I decided to carry these bills, not only because I think it's really important, and I sit on the tax committee, and I'm starting to understand the interactions between it, but also, I represent a city that, like I said, is not property wealthy, but we're in a district that is. And we don't get the equalizing factor to the same extent as a property poor district. But I think it's very important that property poor districts have the same opportunities and that equalizing factor to help them out. So that is why it is important to me to carry this bill, because we like to make sure that we're thinking way beyond what our districts can get. But it's also very important for you to be talking to your community districts, like I know you do, to make sure they see how this affects them. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that some of these runs and all the work that Mr. Strom and folks do to give us these runs so that we can look at them and see how it will possibly affect our district. So, thank you.
Representative Pryor?
And if I may ask a follow-up question again, just a clarification, and
Yes.
if I may bring in the two bills that we've heard together. I think Representative, or Chair Joachim, you said that different ways of looking at the same problem, different solutions. Do you think that, especially after property tax hears the bills, do you think that both of these are part of the solution, or could it be that, or one of them probably needs to weigh in as being the solution versus the other one, or is this combination? And then also, did I understand correctly that the first one that you introduced would have or would do something for the school district itself, or again, are both of these just targeted towards the taxpayer, the property tax, local property taxes?
Representative Pryor, that's sorry.
Chair
Madam Chair.
Joachim?
Representative Pryor, that is a very good and complicated question to answer. But I think it's gonna be a blend of the two, because from my understanding, and I'm looking to my guru and Mr. Strom, these are two different ways to approach the same problem. And there's different levers we can pull. One of those levers is that moving up that $724 access to $840 like we did in the first bill. Another one is either just having it directly move with the market, referendum market value. Another in this bill is having it at 150% of the referendum market value. And bottom line though is, like you said, this is not, neither of these are putting money back into a school district's pocket. These are putting money back into our property taxpayers' pocket.
Chair, thanks, Chair Joachim. Mr. Strom, did you have anything to add?
No, Madam Chair, in terms of Representative Pryor's comments, I would just say that one of the concerns with equalization is whether it's a tax committee issue or an education issue. Both committees would prefer the other pay for it out of its target. So part of the, well, I don't mean to be flip, but I mean part of the issue is how do you set the case for determining where a target might be for property tax relief and whether one of the levers may be more appealing than the other. So I suspect it's an ongoing conversation that may involve parts of all three, but also probably needs to work with what decisions on enhanced school funding this committee makes, as well as decisions the tax committee may choose to make in terms of how they're structuring property tax relief this year.
Thank you. Chair Pryor, a follow-up? Nope. Okay. Representative West? Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I was actually a little worried when I saw Chair Joachim introduce this bill, because sometimes chairs introduce a bill in order to park it and have it never be seen again. So I really appreciate you moving forward on this. I'm a co-author on this bill, and it really is a bipartisan bill, not only on the co-authors, but it affects, in particular, my district, Representative Hill's district. Like this benefits people across the state, and I appreciate you as chair taking a more statewide approach, because it, as you mentioned, this is not necessarily your reelection bill for your districts. And I just want to give you props to thinking about the whole state, not parking this bill to suffer a very silent death. And I hope to see this move forward, because this is, if we're ever going to do it, now is the time with our absolutely enormous surplus. And this is a way everyone can be a winner and fix some problems that have been here for a very long time. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Any final words, Chair Joachim?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. So yes, I am very interested in trying to tackle this in some way, shape, or form this year. And as Mr. Strom said, who pays for it is the crux of the issue and why we're trying to lay the groundwork here. And the reason why I've said property tax cut about 6 times. So you can all, it's not just about filling out a bingo card. It's about laying that groundwork to see, to just explain too that equalization really does go back to the taxpayers. So with that, members, state aid equalizing factor in our local operating revenue really has not kept pace with rising property values. Like I said, I am determined to try to get something fixed with this time. My time is way too precious than to take up bills and park them, so I try not to do that, but also to think of the bigger picture. And as it's been pointed out before, our Hopkins School District as a whole, I get very sensitive about this because Hopkins proper, our city, is 2 by 2 miles. As a reminder, 65% rental, 40% BIPOC, and very much lower referendum market value than the rest of our school district that I love so dearly and have a husband that teaches in it, and I work in it part-time too. So love the Hopkins School District as much as St. Louis Park and Edina as well. But it is an important bill to look at statewide. We really should be trying to remember that it shouldn't determine what zip code a child lives in, how well they're educated. So House File 1271 is just one way that we can address this. And like I said before, we're sending this over to the tax committee in order for them to take a look at it as well. And then the arm wrestling will begin about who ends up paying for it. So with that, members, I would ask for your support.
And with that, Chair Joachim renews her motion for House 1271 to be referred to the Committee on Taxes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so the motion prevails for House File 1271 to be referred to the Committee on Taxes. And then I'll now hand the gavel back to Chair Joachim.